All right, welcome in. We are fired up and ready to go, both sides of the ball and on 1010XL social channels. If you guys are tuning in, hanging out with us, we appreciate it. Or if you come back and watch it later, we appreciate that as well. Joe C. from XL Primetime, and I got two coaches on both sides of the ball. To my right, I got Coach Jerald Ingram. That's a two-time Super Bowl winning running backs coach under Tom Coughlin up there in New York. Coach Mark Duffner. To my left, linebackers coach here in Duval for a long, long time, defensive coordinator and 50 years of coaching, all kinds of good stuff to gloss on these guys with. Fellas, good morning. It's a beautiful fall Tuesday right here in Duval County, isn't it?
It's an awesome day in Jacksonville. That's for darn sure.
Great day in Jacksonville. Next.
All right. Listen, that's what we're going to talk about is coming out of Vegas, leaving the desert with a dub. Important to avoid a 3-game losing streak. It almost went that way, fellas, when we think about it. But now they are 5-3, and they head to the AFC South rival, Houston, Texas. We'll talk about them at the end of the show. But let's get into it, guys. And if you guys are watching on any Instagram, X, Facebook, wherever you might be picking us up, YouTube, definitely throw a comment in the chat section, and we'd love to hear from you. I feel like it was a deserving game ball for Devon Hamilton, Coach Duffner, as we start on the defensive side of the ball. At the end of this game, it would have been a hell of a sorry ending if Jacksonville did not leave Vegas with a win. But credit Devon Hamilton, he finally got the mitt up in the air and knocked that ball down.
Well, there's no question about it. I mean, you're looking for players to make big plays when we need it the most, and he certainly came through at that time. That was a critical play. Who knows? It looked like it might have been a completion for them, but he made the play, and we come away with a victory. With again, got to credit the entire team. They played hard. They didn't quit. They had opportunities to do that. They didn't do that, and again, their resilience won the game for us.
And Coach Ingram, when you think about it, man, this was a stinker of a start offensively. There wasn't a whole hell of a lot going on either with the Jag side or the Vegas side. It was awful. Field goal. But then finally, if you go back and look at the second half of this game, you had lead changes. They both were able to make it an interesting game at the end.
No, it was an exciting game, and the best thing that ever happened for us as a team is the ability to rise up, and people rose up to, despite all the situations, fighting your own battles. It was two bad teams in the first half, and then the second half, ended up being two good teams playing good football on offense. And our guys rose up, the receivers rose up, the running back rose up, the offensive line rose up. Despite the injuries, we're mixing people in and out here and there, quarterback making a bad decision, and they just kind of be resilient and say, next play is the most important play. Let's fight through it, and who cares? And they did it and found a way to win the game at the end.
Yeah, 5 lead changes in the second half, and they did find a way. And I want to stay with Coach Ingram on the run game because I think we can all appreciate this. When they went to overtime and they won the coin toss, took the ball, and said, we're going to get physical. We're going to Olivia Newton-John our way right down this football field, and we're just going to just hammer you with the run game. And by gosh, they did it. I give Liam Cohen, coach, a lot of credit for that, for the way they finished.
It was a smart choice to take the ball, and I think by then it was a great coaching decision. They got into some jumbo sets and said, hey, we're not going to RPO it. We're going to line up in jumbo. I believe in these guys, the interior guys. We're going to get it done. The extra tackle in the game, there were some mishaps. There were times you'd say you wish you ran at their best player as opposed to putting them on the backside, because I think backside of some of these runs were a problem for us as far as the inside movement, occurred. But still, they got into a heavy run, and it wouldn't force them to have to throw. And that was a great decision to take time off the clock. But I think he believed how certain things happen in the game. I mean, you took 9 minutes off the clock at one time. So you knew your team could do something. So it was a great coaching decision.
Well, and I think to add to that right now, really when when you look at the play of the offensive line, I mean, they came through and played their tails off right now. I mean, they protected the quarterback well during the course of the game. They ran for 150 plus yards, 3.6, I think, a carry. And so, the run game, which is, again, back to basics. They got back to being physical in the run game on offense. Defensively stopped the run, only gave up 57 yards rushing, 3.0 a carry. So up front was a lot of what, the success of the game became.
And I feel like, guys, coming out of the bye week, it basically boiled down to, and it's a discussion that we all three had before, is that you reach a point where you self-scout, you look back, you say, wait a minute, how did we get to 4-1? And then how did 4-1 turn into 4-3? Well, the injuries and the lack of physical play. And Liam Cohen admitted it, Coach Ingram, that he put the ball in the air far too many times going back the last couple of games, and they needed to get back to the core of what they want to do, which is run the ball.
Yes, and that was a great decision on him. He had to admit that he was part of the fault, and he had probably lost track on what he wanted and what his intentions are and who we are. The quarterback's going to have to play better when we run the ball. It forces him, to limit, what he can do, and allows us to just try to get, be tougher, be more physical. We can't play backwards. We got to play forwards.
All right, so both of you guys jump in on this whole Travis Hunter discussion. And then, like Coach Duff, if you think about it, he had 100 yards plus receiving against the LA Rams. He found the end zone for the first time this season, and he was doing work on the defensive side. Not having him, not having Eric Murray, who went on the injured reserve at the same time, not having Devin Lloyd healthy for the game. Coach Duff, that's a hell of a hit. That's basically almost every level of the defense that was without one of their plus guys.
No question. And that's why, again, it was important for the next man up. Or it's important that everybody contributed their very best as far as that's concerned. When you look at, how about Trammell? What he does in the game, he comes up, he has a great return. He gets him in field position. Jones, a guy that was cut a couple times, comes in, makes a couple big catches. Everybody, there was a contribution from the team that allowed this game to be the way it went. And I think you got to be, cognizant of that and really, complimentary about it. I also would say this to you. I thought that, especially with, I think the game plan going in prior to Travis getting hurt was going to be to feature him quite a bit in the passing game. And so I kind of defend Coach a little bit in that, he wanted to see some big plays starting to happen. That's where I think he went to the passing game a little bit in those couple games before the break, but Seattle game and the Rams game. But I also compliment him, as you said, Joe, he got back to the run game. ETN played his back end off. Tremendous, broke a number of tackles in the game. You talk about a guy that showed up and gave it all that he could give. That guy did. And really, I think, so did Tootin, as far as what he did. He did a great job. And implementing the Wildcat, come on, they really, I give them a lot of credit what they did in the off week to get ready for this ball game. And one where that other team had time to prepare too. Coming out with a win was great.
Yeah, both of them were coming off the bye week, and the Wildcat was a nice little wrinkle. And certainly we've seen the Wildcat, but we hadn't seen it here in Duval. And they ran a couple of plays off of it. And then Coach Ingram, what Coach Duff said is right, man. That was a whirlpool tub type of game for ETN. He needed to soak for hours after that.
No, it was good. His run finish was very well. His acceleration through the line of scrimmage was good. The offensive line and situations got him started, and he was able to finish the runs, but he did make some plays behind the line of scrimmage to continue. So there was he did a hell of a job pinballing off a bunch of people and kept his feet moving, and it was good to see a backup running back come in there and help out. But that's who they are. That's who we are, and that's how we're going to have to be throughout the rest of the season.
And Bayshul had that one crucial first down inside the 5-yard line or maybe 6-yard line when they were in overtime to make sure that they were able to get in the end zone. And so, yeah, both of them did what they needed to do. Robert Hainsey, another week removed from that hamstring, much healthier. And then they went with the jumbo package. And Coach Ingram explained this a little bit because you guys are experts on both sides of the ball. And when you decide that you're going to put Cole Van Lannon in there, Chuma Edoga in there, you're going to go jumbo and make sure that you physically try and wear down a defensive front. That was a pretty damn good defensive front they were going up against. But explain the decision that Liam made to do that.
When you put jumbo people out there, you're trying to create another mismatch, with another offensive lineman as opposed to a tight end. In that situation, sometimes you can get in jumbo and get unbalanced, and you're trying to create run gap situations on the defense and their alignment. So, where are the double teams? Where are the matchups? It's heavy run to one side. It's a formation and personnel grouping made for run and trying to control the gap controls of the defense and see if you can find a crease in there.
And Coach Duff, from a defensive point of view, that's kind of hellish, isn't it, when you're trying to figure out how to deal with that?
Well, it is, as Coach just mentioned, the alignments, they're trying to get you misaligned, trying to get you, as far as that's concerned, problem fitting gaps, and it can be a great edge for the offense. Now, it is a little bit of a tell for the defense, and hey, we know it's run, so, or it's most likely going to be run. So again, you can load the box as far as that's concerned. But shoot, this team's doing it well, and we're going to see a team next week that's getting into jumbo too. I'm talking about in terms of Houston. So it's been a good addition to a number of offenses, and especially ours.
And there are a lot of passes off of that as well. You want to get the deep ball thrown? We used to throw the one-step slant against that. You want to put one grenade against everybody in the box. There's only one guy out there on the outside. You can throw the deep ball. You can throw the hitch and go. You can do a lot of different things out there one-on-one.
Now, and you got to show that to give, like I said, to make sure that defense doesn't load up on you. You've got to have that in the game plan, like Coach is saying.
Yeah, design and disguise, and if you can do both of those, then you can be successful. And the other thing, Coach Duffner, holy smokes, I was texting with Coach Campo, and then I put it out on X: double, triple, quadruple cover block hours if you have to.
No.
Holy crap!
Yeah. Put him in the Hall of Fame right now. It was unbelievable.
Yeah,
we all knew it was going to him. Got to a point where it was like,
crazy.
And that's what I was saying. I said Ray Lewis would have, even though you're in cover two, he would have made sure he knows where the ball's going. I am going to be over to him a little quicker. Now, I thought Foyer, if he was in the right position, he could have intercepted the one ball.
Whew.
He was right there, and he should have. But we all knew Powers was going to get it, and Myers is a pretty good tight end too.
Yeah, but I'm with you, Joe. I would have doubled the guy almost all day long. And I told you before, if we could somehow get him disrupted at the line of scrimmage, get hands on the guy, at least try to get him rerouted or to get him, no free release as far as that's concerned. But what a dominant player that cat is. And I mean,
absolutely, that's a switch alignment, Coach. How about how big? See, we ran into the same situation with Shannon Sharp here. And I told Leon, we played here on a Sunday Night Football, and we couldn't stop Shannon. I'm not going to call the safety's name out, but we were at the end of the game. We're like, what we used to face against Tennessee Titans, they get in a switch alignment, and all of a sudden they're going to, he's not going to have a free release at the line of scrimmage.
That's right.
But here you are trying to play off coverage with a guy who's a better athlete. I mean, he looked phenomenal out there.
Well, he had a number of explosive passes in the game, and then even Mayer. I mean, they tried to feature those tight ends a little bit, trying to, move the ball as far as that's concerned. But once again, somehow, some way, and positively, we won the ball game, and let's build on it. Yeah,
it was Halloween weekend, so I called him Michael Myers. It kind of felt like Michael Myers from Halloween. He was just let's be real. Both tight ends torched the back end, and it was linebacker. I don't know whether it's linebacker assignment fail or Dewey got beat bad in the back of the end zone with the Bowers catch. And it wasn't like Jacoby Myers was lighting them up or Tucker was pretty good. He's cat quick, so he was difficult to, especially in zone, to keep track of. But bottom line is, and go back to what Coach Ingram said, if you think of the great ones, Shannon Sharp, you can go back to Frank Wycheck against this Jaguar team. And then you can go on with the Gronks of the world. There are special dudes playing that position, and they're hard to handle.
Oh, they are. They are an absolute pain to you on defense, and you've got to always know where they're at. And then when you get too distracted with them, the other things can open up on you. So, again, game planning and being able to take care of these tight ends. We're going to face a good one in Schultz coming up again too. So this week in Houston. So again, that kind of defensive attention to those guys is critical.
All right, we're going to get to some trade deadline questions that you guys have coming up in just a little bit. Feel free to jump in on that subject, and then also on the Jags win over the Raiders, and then, of course, look ahead to the Houston Texans, who may or may not be with C.J. Stroud when it's all said and done after he went into concussion protocol. But I just want to throw a couple of other things at you guys as far as what came out of this game. And you're sitting there and you're watching this thing unfold, and like we said, it was bad ball offensively in the first half of this game, and then they started getting going. But if you think about the pre-snap penalties, this team is still fighting them, and I don't know how you completely correct that. But once again, you're talking about a couple of examples on the offensive side, Coach Ingram. They get a first down play. They move the chains. It's 1st and 10, and lo and behold, it might even been 2 false starts on one drive. Hunter Long and then one of the linemen did it as well. 2 false starts after getting first down yardage. That's just, it drives you nuts.
Yeah, it does. But like I said, you said the team is resilient. It's almost to the point where now they know they're not going to be perfect. Some of the things you put on the quarterback, you put on certain players that may not be confident about what they're doing. Is it that you're doing too much? Who knows? People just aren't able to hold themselves back at critical times of the game, and every play is critical, but I have to say it's to the point now, it's on the leadership of the team. It's not the coaches, it's the leadership of the team. They have to get it done within their groups, and it has to be addressed. The quarterback has to address it. Everybody has to address their own responsibilities to winning and be accountable to that. And it just can't keep going on and on. But yeah, they're resilient to the point where they just say, hey, all right, next play, let's fight it.
Yeah, well, here's the ticket. That was on those penalties. We had 5 penalties, 2 on the second drive of the game, 3 on the third drive of the game. And it wasn't just one guy. I mean, we had 2 false starts. We had Harrison had a holding call. I think Munt had an issue. Quarterback had a shifting issue. I mean, so everybody contributed. But once they had 5 of them in the first half, then they kind of settled it down. So kudos to the group. They did kind of fix it in the second half. It didn't rear its head like that. Did a little bit snap, I think, on defense, but offense kind of settled it down at halftime.
Well, also, nothing worse when you mentioned the first couple of drives. Nothing worse than going down the field, putting it all together. You're on a 17-play, 81-yard drive.
Great drive.
And for the life of me, I can't figure out how. And I know the space gets very tight. That's like having an extra defender when you're near the goal line. Oh, yeah. My gosh, man. Trevor needs to make better decisions, and it almost looked, and I'm probably crazy, Coach Ingram, but it looked like his arm just slowed down, invited those 2 defenders to come into that area. Instead of the shovel pass, he throws just a terrible.
I just didn't understand that he didn't understand the play.
Yeah.
There are 2 bodies there when you run shovel. He's responsible for the one which he came to him. There's one for the lineman. All you need to know, if the other guy would have blitzed, I say, fine, you're throwing the ball. But if you have 2 people there, it's supposed to go to the running back, and he would have walked in.
Yeah.
But he didn't understand the play. Now, is it because he hadn't run enough? Was he not confident enough? But I know Liam's like, why didn't he give him the ball? You don't know what to say as a coach. Now, they ran the speed option. He ran that perfect. That was unbelievable. The defense
it was
not have been ready for that at all.
That was a gutsy call too. Yep.
Jump in, Coach Duff, because if you're obviously when you're game planning and scouting a guy when he tightens up, and coach is saying maybe it is a confidence question.
Well, I think it certainly looked like it on that play. That's for darn sure. And they had done, like you just said, so well in terms of getting the ball down into that area. You got to come away with points, and to give it away late in the down like that was a tough thing. But I'll tell you one thing. Again, you got to make mention again that we ran the ball for 15 first downs in that game. So, and again, I just can't. I'm so glad that they kind of got back into that focus when you review of what really has brought us to a record that we have right now. Running the football and establishing that early was real important.
And the other thing, we mentioned slow starts, and it takes forever to find the end zone. And this team is now, I want to say it was 3 of the last 4 games that they didn't score in the first quarter. And then back-to-back weeks, of course, or games that they didn't get in the end zone until the fourth quarter. They didn't score until the fourth quarter. Only 1 touchdown, of course, against the LA Rams. And then they didn't get in the end zone until the fourth quarter of this ball game. Now, like we said, lead changes. There were 5 of them in the second half. But Coach Ingram, my gosh, man, especially against that team, you have got to figure out a way to strike quick, strike early, strike often.
Definitely. And, like you said, they wanted to start fast.
Yeah.
Okay. Now they control the clock, they control the ball, they did some of the things we want to do. But see, this is what we're going to have to do this week. We're going to have to do the same thing. They're a good quality defense they got to play this week. You got to keep your defense, off the field, is what you got to. Now, we don't know who the quarterback is, but he has played better than he had in that first game against us. So we don't know what their situation. They look very aggressive up the field and throwing the ball, which that's what we're looking to as time goes on. But we do have to run the ball. We have to play tough physical ball the rest of the way, whoever lines up, because we got a lot of injury problems right now.
Yeah, that's a killer too when you think about it, because we're not exactly sure who they're going to be bringing out, who this team's going to have as far as reinforcements. We'll talk about the trade deadline coming up here in just a few minutes, but the Davis Mills-led Texans didn't look terrible. Now, they didn't generate a lot of points, but still, that dude has beaten Duval before, and so this team needs to go into Houston and make sure they keep it rolling in the right direction if they can. All right, so let's hit the trade deadline, okay? Because we got a couple guys that have been chiming in on this, and Ozzy, don't hesitate to put them up on the screen. And we're talking about, is this Jacksonville Jaguar team, Jimmy Gladstone, in the front office, are they going to be willing to make a move? Now, offensive line has been brought up by a handful of our guys. As far as Evan Neal is concerned, one that maybe makes some sense, breaks by Duval, trade candidate. And I get what he's saying. He's an offensive guard, a physical guy that certainly can lend some help inside. And what do you guys think about an Evan Neal or somebody like that along the line of scrimmage?
Well, I think anything you can do to solidify the line on either side of the football is a great addition right now. Great thought. And then that's where the game is won. I mean, you get, and it's going to be a factor coming up in this week here. You've got to control the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball to have a chance to win ball games in this league. So I think any addition along that thought would be a good one.
And Coach Ingram, do you sound the alarm more on the offensive line, even though they did play better this week,
Sure did.
or more on the defensive line?
I side on the defensive line because if we can continue to play that we're playing and people step in and you're moving people around, my concern is our secondary issues. And if we have to ask more time for our secondary to cover people and not have I don't care if it's a one-trick pony defensive edge rusher. If he's available, to me, find an edge rusher, because for some reason, say you go 6-4 and you find a way to get into the playoffs, you got to play some legitimate quarterbacks. Okay. Yeah. Someone's got to, you can't sit there and just blitz people every down and think that that's going to work, but you're going to have to depend on a 4-man rush, and someone's got to get there.
Yeah.
So, if one's available, in my mind, to me, I'd win a game with defense as best I can and run the ball and play sound time possession football. And let's get in the hunt. The
one guy that I wanted, Coach Duff, was Jalen Phillips. And I was looking at him for a while, but it was costly. But give Howie Roseman credit, because he acquires a lot of draft capital. They go and get Jair Alexander. They go and get a running back. They go and get obviously Jalen Phillips. They had to give up a 3rd-round pick for him. So I don't know that I would have gone that high as far as price is concerned.
Well, Trey Hendrickson from Cincinnati's out there, and there's been a lot of talk about that possibility in the league across the board. I don't know that Cincinnati will let him go. I had the privilege to be with him the last 6 years. I mean, last 4 years when he was there, but the 6 years I was there, he's a darn good player as far as that's
Mhm.
concerned. Would give you that. I'm not so sure. I wouldn't still be looking to see if we can get some interior defensive help in terms of that, because again, we've got some guys out there on the edge, but we got to get more. I think internal pressure as far as both the pass game and the run game as far as that's concerned. And that's an area we all identified, from the beginning of the season. So anyway, we'll see.
And like we said, Devon gets a game ball, but only because he popped up in overtime. Eric Armstead didn't pop up nearly enough until the late stages of the game. And that was when Gino had to drive the field and basically put the ball in the air. They never really got to him early enough to affect him in any way. They did flush him out of the pocket, but that's it. Josh Hines Allen breaks the sack record all time for the Jags. And Coach Ingram, you know how good Tony Brackens was back in the day. But Josh Hines Allen, if you compare him on that 60 plus minutes of ball, Max Crosby is so much more of an influence and affecting the plays at the line of scrimmage than unfortunately 41 is right now.
Yeah,
I think that. Yeah, go ahead.
Solid, definite great player. He really is. He's a difference maker. And I give Josh a hell of a lot of credit because I feel for the kid a little bit because, he's not getting to the edge, with his moves on the outside edge, and then when he does come underneath, I don't know what he's doing when he comes underneath, but it's not effective enough. But when he does bull rush people, it almost looks like the plane is tilted. His side is, and I love his effort. His effort is continuous, but it looks so lopsided from one side to the next because you don't get the interior pressure that Duff is talking about. Yeah. So it looks like it's tilted all the time to his side, no matter if he gets there or not. And either the inside's not getting there and the other side, and definitely when Walker went out, when Walker left the game, it really was one-sided on one side of the field. And the kid, he got his paw up, but he didn't get much of a pass rush, so he might as well got his paw up and win the game. So thank God he did that.
Yeah, that, Coach.
Yeah, it was critical that he got that. I'm so glad he got that sack. And, again, with Walker being not only out in this game when he got ejected, but out before, I mean, he's been drawing all the attention to their chips, to their, keeping people in to block him. And so hopefully we get Travion back in there where he can now be a factor. And we got two people they got to be concerned with to, help the pressure.
Yeah. And Coach Duff, do you pull Trayvon to the side and say, look, bro, you can't be swinging. Okay. You got to make sure that you're not costing us, especially in critical moments of a ball game.
Well, like that, and actually that kind of surprised me a little bit by him because he's a pretty heady player as far as that's concerned, but they always get, as the coaches have said since the beginning, they always get the second guy. I mean, this guy torques him. And so it's kind of a natural sometimes response to try to get back at the guy. And they always see the second guy, but I was surprised by it, frankly, because I think this kid's a really heady player, and obviously emotion got involved there and hurt us. I mean, so yeah, I'm sure they pulled him aside. I know he understands it. He'll come back and he'll correct that.
All right. So before we finish up, fellas, both of you guys hit a thought or two. Coach Ingram hit it with this Houston Texans team that we are going to see some things that are popping now that you're heading there. Now that C.J. Stroud may or may not be the quarterback. What are a couple things you're thinking about?
Well, I'm thinking that, like I said, we have to play with an intensity to win. We have to be consistent. We have to do what we keep saying. We're not going to hurt ourselves, but we have to find a way to turn the ball over. We play good football when we at least get one turnover a game, and we just got to put ourselves in position to win and run the ball effectively.
Coach Duff?
Yeah, and I agree with that right now. And that's kind of where, they have struggled some in terms of defending the great defense we're going to play against. I mean, they really are. But both sides on offense and on defense, they have struggled in the red zone. I'm talking about Houston. Houston's offense, I think, is like 32nd in the red zone. I think that their defense is probably tied for the worst too. I mean, they're not doing very well in terms of red zone offense and defense. So that'll be a factor for us in terms of taking advantage of their weaknesses as far as that's concerned. And, geez, well, Pete, when you look at their defense, you talk about a swarming athletic group. I mean, that's takeaways like Coach talked about really helped us in the first game against this team, and that's going to be a critical factor. Again, we got to limit their positions, get the ball back for our offense, and take advantage of the field position.
All right, so a couple off the chat real quick before we go. The one question is about Brenton Strange. When is he coming back? Well, you got to wait at least one more week because he's going to have to go through the 4 weeks of injured reserve, and we know just how valuable he is in the passing game, obviously as a blocker. But Brenton Strange we're not going to see just yet. A couple of other ones are saying O-line and defensive line need help. We can't pressure the quarterback up the middle, and tight end help, depending on what they do and maybe see as far as who's available and what it's going to cost, and then a dominant defensive tackle. I think we would all agree if by 4 o'clock this afternoon you see them make a move, you won't be shocked as long as they don't give up a ton of draft capital, and we'll see where they go. All right, fellas. Great stuff as always. Both sides of the ball. Coach Jerald Ingram, Coach Mark Duffner. Coach Ingram will be on XL Primetime with us later today as we continue to talk Jaguar ball. Ozzy, our producer, great job as always. Thanks, coaches. And we will talk to all of Duval and beyond next week with another Both Sides of the Ball.
Catch Swamp Sessions with Dan and Jeff after every Gators game.